Russia is reportedly giving Iran intelligence for strikes on US forces. Trump dodged tough questions about Moscow. Oil prices are surging. Massive supertankers are stranded in the Strait of Hormuz. The US is preparing to lift sanctions on Russian oil to stabilize the market. The world watched. How severe will the fallout be? The Paralympics have already begun in Italy. Among the participants, injured Russian soldiers who fought in Ukraine. European countries are boycotting the Games, while the International Paralympic Committee's president sees no issue. The Kremlin threatens Finland over nuclear weapons. Lithuanian intelligence warns of a new NATO challenge. The balance of power in Europe is shifting right now. How is Russia helping Iran strike US bases? And why is Trump staying silent? And how is the world reacting to Russian soldiers competing in the Paralympics? Will Washington really lift sanctions on Moscow? Watch the full episode to find out. US President Donald Trump dodged questions about reports that Russia is sharing intelligence with Iran to target US troops. At a White House roundtable on the college sports, Trump said he'd take only one or two questions and called on Fox News reporter Peter Doocy. When Doocy asked about the reports from the Washington Post and Fox News, Trump cut him off, joking that Russia helping Iran is a small problem compared to what we are talking about here, pointing to college sports instead. Later, Trump called out the reporter for bringing up a topic of the war with Iran.
It sounds like the Russians are helping Iran target and attack Americans now.
That's an easy problem compared to what we're doing here. I mean, but can I be honest? It's just, I have a lot of respect for you. You've always been very nice to me. What a stupid question that is to be asking at this time. We're talking about something else. Can we keep this maybe a little bit?
While Donald Trump says Vladimir Putin wants peace in Ukraine, Russia is quietly helping Iran target American troops. According to the Washington Post, Russia is giving Tehran intelligence to make their strikes in the Middle East more precise. Three officials told the paper this on condition of anonymity. US officials say that since the start of US operation in Iran, Russia has been giving Tehran coordinates of American military targets, including ships and aircraft. It's not yet clear how extensive Russia's help is, but officials say Iran's own ability to locate US forces was already partially weakened in less than a week of fighting. Analysts say Russian intelligence could explain the accuracy of Iran's strikes on US assets, including command centers, radar systems, and temporary military facilities. In recent days, a CIA post at the US embassy in Riyadh was also hit. Russian military experts Dara Masikot says Iran is hitting early warning radars and long-range detection systems with remarkable precision. Iran has only a few military satellites and no full satellite network of its own, so Russian satellite images with Moscow's far stronger space capabilities can be extremely valuable. Harvard researcher Nikol Grayevsky notes that Iran strikes show a high level of technology, both in choosing targets and something overwhelming US and allied air defenses. She adds that Iranian missiles and drones are increasingly getting through air defense systems with attack quality, even surpassing last summer's 12-day war with Israel. Meanwhile, the Pentagon is quickly using up high-precision weapons and air defense interceptors, highlighting concerns previously raised by Joint Chiefs Chairman Dan Kane. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth says he is not worried about Iran receiving Russian intelligence on US positions. In an interview with CBS News, he noted that President Trump knows very well who is talking to whom. Hegseth also added that the US is tracking everything and factoring it into its operational plans.
Mr. Trump has a unique relationship with a lot of world leaders where he can get things done that other presidents, certainly Joe Biden, never could have. Through direct conversations or indirect, through him one-to-one, or through his cabinet, messages definitely can be delivered. We're putting the other guys in danger, and that's our job. So we're not concerned about that. But The only ones that need to be worried right now are Iranians that think they're going to live.
On 6th of March, Vladimir Putin spoke for the first time with Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian since the escalation in the Middle East. The conversation focused on the killing of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei and the current situation in the region. Dictator Putin expressed condolences to Pezeshkian for the death of Khamenei, his family members and civilian victims. He also said he is in constant contact with leaders of Gulf Arab countries. The Kremlin did not provide any additional details. There was no information about strategic discussions or next steps between the two partners. Meanwhile, oil prices are soaring due to the conflict with Iran. Even a week after one of the biggest shocks of the global energy markets, prices are still below levels seen in the previous crisis. But more and more energy executives and traders are warning every day of the war brings the world closer to a tipping point. Some predict that oil could reach $100 a barrel in the coming days, Bloomberg reports. Shipping through the Strait of Hormuz was almost come to a halt. This has triggered a scenario once considered the worst case for energy markets. The number of empty supertankers in the Persian Gulf is dropping fast. This brings the moment closer when producers may have to cut output. Against this backdrop, the US could lift sanctions on Russian oil to stabilize the energy market amid the war in Iran. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent commented it in an interview with Fox Business. This happened the day after the US granted India a 30-day window to buy Russian oil currently sitting in tankers at sea. On Friday, crude oil prices jumped 8.5% and over the week they surged nearly 30%.
We may unsanction other Russian oil. There are hundreds of millions of sanctioned barrels of sanctioned crude on the water, and in essence, by unsanctioning them, Treasury can create supply, and we are looking at that.
He stressed that the new measures are not easing sanctions on Moscow over the war in Ukraine. They only apply to shipments that are already on their way. Russian military athletes have been allowed to take part in the Paralympic Games. International Paralympic Committee has reinstated Russia's membership. Its athletes will compete at the 2026 Paralympics under their national symbols. Russia is actively involving veterans of the war against Ukraine in the Paralympic sports. The country is spending significant funds on their rehabilitation and training for competitions. Spectators booed the Russian delegation at the opening ceremony of the 2026 Winter Paralympic in Verona, Italy on Friday, March 6. For the first time in 12 years, Russia was represented at the ceremony under its own flag. Belarus also took part in the festivities. 6 Russian Paralympic athletes were invited to the 2026 Games by the International Paralympic Committee. The same number made up Russia's delegation, which marched under its flag at the opening ceremony. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian flag carried by volunteers was met with long applause. The Ukrainian team boycotted the ceremony and opposed the flag being used, but it appeared anyway. In addition to Ukraine, 6 other European countries skipped the ceremony in protest: Czechia, Estonia, Finland, Latvia, Lithuania, and Poland. In Russia, war veterans are being actively recruited into Paralympic sports. Investigative journalists at WhatTag TV say the state is spending significant funds to turn wounded soldiers into athletes. Investigative journalists say Russia is spending tens of millions of dollars on programs that move wounded soldiers from hospital beds into Paralympic teams. Some are recruited into regional squads and later trained for international competitions. Soldiers who lost limbs or suffered serious injuries on the front line go through rehabilitation while starting Paralympic sports. In the future, they may join the national team. According to Ukrainian intelligence, there could be hundreds of people in Russia's Paralympic movement who took part in the war against Ukraine. The investigation highlights Russian soldiers who started sports careers after being wounded. One lost a leg near Bakhmut and later competed in para-snowboarding. Other former soldiers are training in para-volleyball, shooting and rowing. Some openly say they dream of representing Russia at the Paralympics. Russia's participation has sparked international controversy. Some countries and delegations have been boycotted certain events because of Russian athletes. According to the BBC, International Paralympic Committee President Andrew Parsons see no problem with wounded Russian soldiers competing at the Paralympics.
There are many countries that recruit athletes from the armed forces. So if Russia does that, they won't be the only one. Our movement started after World War II, specifically with injured military personnel. So what the Paralympic movement offers is possibility after war. We are against any war, any conflict, but what we offer is an opportunity for those who are injured in war to be reintegrated into society through sport. It doesn't matter to us what they have done in the past in the combat field. Crimes of war are something different, but what we offer with the movement is a second chance.
In 2022, Russia was suspended from the IPC over the war in Ukraine and violation of membership rules. The reinstatement of its rights drew criticism from many countries, which consider the participation of aggressor in sports unacceptable. Meanwhile, the Kremlin has threatened Finland over its plans on nuclear weapons. Russia said it would see any potential deployment of nuclear weapons in Finland as a direct threat. This was reaction of Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov to Finland's announcement that it plans to lift a long-standing ban on nuclear weapons on its territory.
This statement adds to Finland's vulnerability, a vulnerability provoked by the actions of the Finnish authorities. The fact is that by deploying nuclear weapons on its territory, Finland would begin to threaten us. And if Finland threatens us, we will take appropriate measures.
He added that Finland's announcement could escalate tensions across the entire European continent. The day before, the Finnish government said it plans to lift a long-standing ban on nuclear weapons in the country. The 1987 law prohibits importing, producing, possessing or detonating nuclear explosives in Finland. Defense Minister Antti Hakanen said the government is proposing changes to ensure Finland's defense as a part of NATO and fully benefit from deterrence and collective defense. Meanwhile, Lithuanian intelligence warns that Russia could attack NATO countries within 6 years. The aggressor is increasing its forces along the NATO border and sending them to gain combat experience in the war against Ukraine. These units could later be used as a base for conflict with the alliance. Lithuanian intelligence released this assessment on March 6 in annual security threat report, Reuters reports. Lithuanian intelligence warns that if sanctions on Russia are lifted, the Kremlin could be ready for a large-scale conflict with NATO within 6 years. Experts say Russia aims to build an army 30–50% larger than before the war in Ukraine and relatively modern. Strategic stockpiles of weapons and ammunition will be fully restored, allowing the country to conduct conventional operations against NATO. Moscow's main goal remained the same: shifting the balance of power in Europe in its favor and fully dominate Ukraine. The Russian military industry have been boosted by support from China, reducing its reliance on Western technology. The surplus of weapons after the war in Ukraine could have global security consequences. The report also mentions package explosions in 2024 linked by Lithuanian officials to Russian military intelligence. Such incidents could increase in scale and pose a threat to human life. Meanwhile, outages of pipelines, power cables and telecoms in the Baltic Sea since 2023, although caused by ships leaving Russian ports, are not considered deliberate. That's all for today. Thank you for watching and don't forget to subscribe to our channel and leave your comments below.